Well, joining us live now from Washington, D.C. is Jay Famiglietti. He's a professor of Earth System Science. Sir, thank you so much for joining us here on Al Jazeera. It was interesting in that report to see that the shortage of fresh water isn't just an issue in the developing world, in poorer countries, but can happen in the U.S. Now, I know that you've done some research with satellites to see where water depletion is occurring around the world. So what did you find out?
We use a NASA satellite called GRACE, which stands for Gravity Recovery and Climate Experiment. And GRACE literally acts like a scale in the sky that can weigh the water inflows and outflows into a region or out of a region. So we can actually track the regions of the world that are gaining fresh water and the regions that are losing. What we're seeing all over the world is a massive redistribution of water from the mid-latitudes, from the arid and semi-arid parts of the world to the high latitudes like the Arctic and to the low latitudes like the tropics. So that's creating tremendous haves and have-nots, and one of the results is very widespread depletion of the world's major aquifer systems.
So it's less water, but also the way that it's distributed is changing.
That's right. So less water in some places, more water in other places, in particular at the northern high latitudes and in the tropics. But also, you're right, how it's distributed over time, we're seeing that the extremes are becoming more extreme. So we're seeing more flooding happening in some regions and more drought occurring, more persistent long-term drought occurring in other regions.
There was a conference, this conference in The Hague that just wrapped up a few hours ago. They spoke about water diplomacy between countries that are obviously fighting over water. I see in your research you also speak about water management. Oh, that term comes up a lot.
Right.
What is meant by water management? I mean, drinking less, I'm guessing, but with a growing population, what else can happen?
Well, so water is a resource, and it's a precious resource, of course, and our resources need to be managed. One of the main issues with water is that traditionally we have managed our surface waters, our rivers and our reservoirs, and we have not managed our groundwater, yet groundwater is the primary source of water for about a third of the world's population. And without management, what we're seeing is that this incredibly important reserve is being depleted at a rapid clip in many parts of the world.
Professor Jay Famiglietti, thank you so much for joining us here on Al Jazeera.
My pleasure.